How do you prepare for Jesus to be born again in your life, in your heart during this season? How can you personally prepare that you do not stick on the surface, on the trees, the decorations, all the meals, the music, the celebration? All of that is part of the season. But I deeply believe, are called to go in deeper, not stick at the surface, but open up and have Christmas become a life-changing, a life-altering experience, to open up. And just like our scriptures show us, I deeply believe that Jesus is knocking at the doors of our hearts, just like reflected in the book of Revelations. 3rd chapter, verse 20. Jesus is knocking. Will you open up? Will you be receptive? Will you just longing and be aware, pay attention for him to be born, to be held by you, for you to embrace him? It is the very story of Advent, where teenage girl Mary, in her own little world, was surprised by God's angel Gabriel. And Gabriel came to Mary, and he told Mary, "You're God's favorite one. God is delighted in you. You found favor with God. You're God's precious gift, Mary. And if you hear something like that for you, oh, it feels so good to be recognized as God's gift, as God's precious person." So Mary hears that, and she's all startled and wonders, what's going on? What's going on? What's up to this? Is he buttering me up? What does the angel want from me? Well, if an angel is involved and God has something going on for Mary, yes. Angel Gabriel comes to Mary and says, "You're God's favorite one. You will give birth to Jesus, the Messiah of the world." Mary does not understand right at the beginning. She's startled. She wonders, how is this going to be? And Gabriel tells her, well, you will become pregnant. God's Spirit is at work in you, and you will give birth to Jesus. You shall call him Jesus, which means God saves. And as Mary hears that message, she says, "Here I am, ready to receive Jesus, ready to be God's servant, ready to give birth to Jesus, to bring Jesus into the world." I think we can learn from Mary to open up and be receptive. Be receptive, become instruments of how Jesus may come into the world in and through us. And there are very different depictions of the Annunciation, the announcement for Mary, where Angel Gabriel comes and you can see him blessing Mary, and Mary being very receptive and embracing Jesus in that. The time for that to happen, when is that to happen? This opening up and becoming receptive. And the scriptures we just heard about Jesus, when he started his ministry, he said, "Now is the time. It's right here and right now. The people who walk in darkness see that light. The light is there already. Right now we move toward the light, and we become receptive and let the light draw us out of the darkness which we experience, draw us out of the pain, the frustrations, the blues, everything that pulls us down, focusing on the light for it to draw us out. And it is in a very beautiful symbolic way the morning star that was a symbol for people to look up to the east before the sun rose, before even any morning glow was there. You could see the morning star, Venus, as a symbol that the morning is dawning. Dawn is really close, so look up for the stars. The morning is coming. Suffering will have an end. We will be embraced by the living God. Now is the time. And we hear this wonderful message from Isaiah. Isaiah, God's prophet, is calling the people and envisioning this realm of God, a peaceable kingdom, where all nations come to the mountain of God, God's holy mountain. There were life-changing experiencing happening on the mountains of God. Moses met God on the mountain and got the 10 Commandments there. Holy mountains all over the globe. And God's mountain is Mount Zion. Jerusalem built a city on a hill, on a mountain, where all the people will flock, all will come together and be one nation under God. One nation under the living God. How do we prepare for that? Well, what do you prepare when you are expecting a baby? May get a nursery ready, may get a buggy, may get a car seat, may get different things to get ready for the birth of a baby. In the same way, there are things we can do to open up, to take time, to welcome in the hustle and bustle, in the running and rushing, in the feeling like we never get everything ready and never get everything done. We're not quite there yet. In all of the many pulls, whatever pulls on us, sometimes it feels like everyone has a string and we feel pulled in different directions and torn apart. In that time, to let go of some of it and open up and reflect on, what is this about? Advent. What is Christmas about? He wants to come and be born again in my life, in my heart. God's mountain. All are flocking there. It's to be an holy encounter. And now is the time. Now to get prepared and ready for God's peaceable kingdom. Now, some say the lion and the lamb living together, pie in the sky. You're right. When we live in a world where big and mighty ones eat up the poor and the little ones, it feels like it's not right here yet. But it is God's wish, God's will, God's hope, God's vision with us, for us, that we live as a beloved community, that we draw closer to the mountain of God, draw closer to Jesus. And if we do that, if we open up, and when we look for Jesus in the faces, in the lives of other people, that's when the fighting stops, when we recognize a sister and a brother in people who are different than we are. In this holy encounter, in the encounter with the living Christ, from that hope is born, from there peace stems. When we are at peace, when our longing, our yearning is satisfied. When is that time that you and I are called to open up our hearts for the living one? Isn't it right now the right time? My question I want to leave you with for this week and for the whole Advent season: will you live expectantly? Will you open up? Will you pay attention to those signs, to the invisible angels? Because I deeply believe there are signs, there are wonders, there are miracles all around us. It only takes our eyes, our paying attention to see and to recognize them for what they are. And will you pay attention to the longing in your heart and not suppress it? There is a longing in our hearts for the living God. Will you open your heart for the living one, for Jesus to be born?